Hello and welcome to another edition of Astronomy Spotlight. This is for September 2022, and my name is Kirk Rosberg. I'm the planetarium coordinator here at the Hastings Museum. And this month we are going to look at really two things, the first of which is Jupiter. Jupiter comes to opposition on September 26th. What that means is that Jupiter and the Earth are going to be on the same side of the Sun. Also, Jupiter will be at its closest to the Earth, so it will be at its largest apparent size, say through a telescope or a good pair of binoculars. And I would encourage you to get out, if you've got a pair of binoculars or a small telescope or a big telescope, I would definitely get it out and look at Jupiter on or around September 26th, because you will be able to see perhaps more detail than you normally would during the rest of the year. Speaking of the year, Jupiter comes to opposition about every 13 months. Jupiter's year is a bit longer than an Earth year. It is about 12 years long to our 1 year. So basically, one Earth year is equal to about 1 month on Jupiter, which means you can slowly watch every opposition of Jupiter. It change one constellation, basically moves eastward into the next zodiacal constellation. Look for Jupiter in the eastern sky after sunset on the 26th. In fact, at opposition, Jupiter will rise at sunset and set at sunrise, so it will actually be visible all night long. But yes, it will appear first in the eastern sky right after sunset. The average brightness of Jupiter at an average opposition is about minus 2.7. This time around, it's going to be a little bit brighter than average at about minus 2.9. So definitely this is going to be one of the better oppositions. And that is also because Jupiter is closer to Earth now, or will be on September 26th, than it has been in the last 70 years. Which means, yeah, it will be very close by, relatively speaking. And basically what happens is that the Earth is actually catching up to Jupiter. Since the Earth revolves faster around the Sun, it doesn't take as long, certainly as Jupiter does, to go around the Sun one time. So Earth is basically catching up to Jupiter. Before I actually go to the last thing I want to talk about, and it is Jupiter again. I've got some amazing images from the Webb Space Telescope of Jupiter. I did want to mention that the fall equinox, astronomical fall, begins September 22nd, and in Central Time that will be at 8:03 p.m. So fall officially begins astronomically at 8:03 p.m. on September 22nd. Basically, we will have about the same amount of day and night as the sun basically crosses into the southern hemisphere. All right, now I want to show you some very recent images of Jupiter from the Webb Space Telescope. The first one here that I want to show you is Jupiter in false color. Basically, you have three different filters. You have the auroras, which are detailed in red, and you've got the haze of Jupiter in yellow and green. And basically the cloud bands are in cyan or blue, bluish color. The other image I want to show you here is basically a wider view of Jupiter, where you can actually see some of the diffraction spikes from the Webb Space Telescope, and also a couple of the very small moons of Jupiter as well. And here the colors are slightly more natural. So Webb is starting to release images a little bit more often, but it's going to take a few months before it really kind of gets up to full speed and releasing images on a regular basis. But there you go. So that is it. That is Astronomy Spotlight for September, and thank you for watching.